think you know what you want to do when you're in class, and you take a class, you're like, oh, this is really cool, like I want to go into a field that deals with this, and then you may go into that field, and without any prior experience in that field, you may say, oh, I don't really like this. You know, just knowing what aspects of industry you like and don't like, and kind of how things work. If you are fortunate enough to work at different size companies, different locations, just knowing how those things can play, and working with different people, of course, can really affect where you want to end up.
The significance of co-op is to apply the knowledge that you have already learned into real life examples, and being able to see how it would work in practical life. And it just gives you this practical knowledge that you can always remind yourself of and look back upon, and see what you had learned and what you can gain even more in pursuing this co-op or this field even more so.
So many hard skills and soft skills are fostered and developed on co-op, whether it be soft skills like communication or hard skills like you don't have a professor you can just email and say, oh, did I get this problem right on the homework? But you're out in the real world, you're doing things, you're testing things, and just kind of that mindset of okay, I'm doing this, I'm going to present it, I'm going to test it. If it doesn't work, we'll start back at the drawing board. Sort of that, like, letting go of the hand that's holding you and guiding you is really valuable. And I think that it's really going to give me and other people in my major a step up when we go to look for full-time jobs, or even when we go to apply to graduate school, because we have real industrial experience that other students don't have, and that's a really great opportunity.
I was able to see all different spectrums because we had a good total of 5 of us there. I was a mechanical engineer. I worked on CAD, and I did a lot more with drawings and understanding what was done. I was an electrical engineer where I had to look at schematics and be able to build them and do soldering on all different devices. I was a software engineer from learning Python and also working closely with MATLAB and LabVIEW. And then I was also a manufacturer at times, because with their SRS system, which is a higher up version of Insight, you have to inspect each individual piece and make sure that it's working perfectly before it goes out.
Working with other people, that's definitely one of the main points of it. I was at a lab with like 5 or 6 different people, and sometimes you get people that you don't get along with, sometimes you get people that you're like best friends with. So it's an experience that you have to get. You have to learn how to work with other people, even if they're not your best friends or they don't end up being like really like close to you. You have to learn how to work with people, and you have to learn how to work with people with different personalities and different work ethics. So like that really it's a main point of co-op.
There's a lot to learn from other people at work, obviously, and you might go into it thinking that you want to do something, and by the time you come out, you're in a totally different field, and you're interested in working with not a different type of engineering, but more a specific part of biomed.
It forces a lot of people to grow up. I feel there's a definite difference between kids second year and then when they come back their third year after their co-op. They actually take responsibility. They realize that some of the crap that they pulled in second year and first year does not fly anymore. That, group projects, you can't just blow that off.
Yeah.
Well, it gives you a chance to get out from under your parents, because I know people whose parents have taken care of them their whole lives. They've never had a job, they've never had to do anything for themselves, and then all of a sudden they're out on their own and they don't know what to do, and it finally makes them take responsibility for their own life.
I got to do a lot of hands-on stuff. Since we made really precision parts, we didn't make a lot of them, so I could go right out on the floor and watch the assemblers. I did some testing on them with the quality guys. That and SolidWorks, seeing the whole process. It's a lot more real than just sitting in class.
You can solve all the problems from a textbook you want, but you go out and solve a problem that no one's ever solved before. That's completely different. You don't have a template on how to solve it. There's no answer key.
I got to work with a very diverse group. So I got to work with, physicians and nurses, statisticians, as well as other students. But then I also got to work with a lot of people like internationally, so like from like Germany and Austria, and from China, and I thought that was very interesting to like merge all the cultures as well as intellectual experiences.
I would say that the value of co-op is to gain some real life experience, put a name to the practical knowledge that you've gained, being able to look back and see what you had gained from the co-op and how much more you had gained from the co-op compared to just in-class learning.
One of my most notable independent projects was definitely using an accelerometer and an oscilloscope to find out how many G's of force a certain aspect of the stand that the vital signs monitor was attached to was experiencing during one of our tests. Being able to figure that out at my own hand is definitely a cool accomplishment.
One of my hardest challenges came in the fall when I asked to learn how to code in Python and any other programming that they used. You have to be very focused on what you have to do and very willing to research what each section of it is about. Even if you have questions you can ask, but it's a challenge in itself to know that you need to be very independent with learning it.
Comfortable with LabVIEW. And we did a little bit of it for class, but yeah, when you get into it in industry, we ended up, me and another kid just randomly developed programs that the engineers there now use to respond to patient problems. It feels good to know that you created something that they needed and they're going to use it now until something else comes along.
And also, if you can't figure out how to do things that you're uncomfortable with, that's important too, because I had to do a 20-25 minute presentation by myself. That's the longest one I've ever done on my own. You know, I went and did it and it was fine, and now I feel if I had to do it again in any other job, then I'll be a lot less nervous. So
One of the challenges that I've faced is that I didn't really feel like I had a lot of mentorship for either of my co-ops. It was very independent work, or working on a team where we all didn't really have a lot of mentorship or direction of what we were doing. That was really difficult because mentorship is something that I like doing and I like receiving, and so I hope to get that in my future co-ops. But that was definitely a challenge, especially with my most recent co-op, was sort of getting thrown into this world of prosthetic hands and arms, and I'm just a student, I don't know enough to do all of this, but kind of gaining confidence in myself and knowing what I can and can't do instead of letting my education kind of just like hold me back in some ways, and thinking I'm just a student, I can't do anything, but saying no, you can do all this stuff. You may not know everything, but there's always Google, and there's always your department, and I think that that independent work and gaining the confidence to say I can do this is something that I've definitely gained since my co-op, and was a real challenge in the beginning.
public speaking.
Anything in electrical, working with hardware. I never knew anything about soldering, building automated systems, anything like that.
Definitely communication skills. It sounds like trivial, but I'm a lot better at emailing people, and also working with professionals. You're in a professional environment, you're not just talking to your friends.
It makes you be an adult.
Yeah.
Like, figure out your own problems.
Writing, I had never written a paper before, and with Dr. Lopisco, I've published 2 papers.
Organization, management, 3D design, additive manufacturing or 3D printing, better communication skills, definitely being able to lay out my ideas across, being able to defend them when there was criticism.
I feel like I'm better at managing my time, like setting a rigid schedule for myself, because dealing with different kinds of tasks at a job kind of forces you to learn how to manage that time.